How would you like to expose the real Great Reset going on at the World Economic Forum in Davos? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to see what's really going on behind the scenes. We're going to see how the legacy media is all a part of it. And stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal why the days of Davos are indeed coming to an end. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Stevie with you. Great to be with you. As always, I am your daily fake news antidote. So come on into your Patriot Professor's Den. We're helping to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. And before we begin, how do you like my shirt here, huh? It's Klaus Schwab, the lurking figure behind the World Economic Forum, saying, we have these. It's one of my favorite shirts, and you can get yours by clicking on the link below and visiting our amazing merch store with the best designs in the world. We got our brand new Ultra MAGA shirts. We got the Great MAGA King brand new shirt. We've got some of the best Patriot gear where you can pick out something that spreads Patriot hope and supports my channel here at the very same time. So make sure to click on that link below. Get your Patriot merch today. These designs are punchy and fun, but they are not going to stick around for long, so don't wait. Click on that link in the description below and support both myself and spread Patriot hope far and wide, and I cannot thank you enough for it. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. We're going to have some fun today at the expense of the dolts in Davos who are gathering this week for the World Economic Forum. As I'm sure you all know, every year presidents, prime ministers, CEOs, and the like all arrive in their private jets and are sequestered together in the remote mountain village of Davos, Switzerland, which is carefully guarded with roadblocks and security personnel who are actually members of a special police force for the World Economic Forum who cordon off and control the one and only entry and exit into this village sequestered in the mountains of Switzerland. And it's all for the Olympics of the elite, as it were. The annual gathering of the world's 1,000 leading companies who, quote, seek to shape a better world, a whole new world. Now, as I pointed out in yesterday's video, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky opened the forum as he was lauded by the forum's founder, Klaus Schwab Davos. He spoke via simulcast, inviting businesses to come to Ukraine, or what's left of it, we should say. Steve Cortez tweeted out in response to claims that there had never been another speaker in history who got a standing ovation at the WEF, saying the Davos worship of Zelensky, yet another compelling reason for America to stay out of the regional battle in Ukraine, to which I wholeheartedly concur. Bill Gates will purportedly be there today, talking about the next great pandemic like monkeypox and what he has planned for it. Now, when did a computer programmer become the world's foremost expert in epidemiology? I have no idea, but there you have it. Now, interestingly, the world's media is, as they're busy fawning over this gathering, there's actually been some pretty fascinating and rather illuminating studies on the WEF late, exposing them for who they really are. And there was even an ethnographic study of Davos by cultural anthropologists Marcus Geisler and Ella Veliju. It was an 8-year study, if you can believe it, and its results were published in the Journal of Consumer Research. And according to the authors of this study, it provides for the very first time empirical evidence that the dolts in Davos are emphatically, quote, not improving the state of the world. Surprise, surprise, right? And the study was very interesting because it noted that Davos really isn't about solving problems as much as it's about reframing them. In other words, the World Economic Forum is an organization that, rather than solving issues like poverty and global warming and chronic illness and the like, it shifts the burden of the solution to these problems from governments and businesses to, yes, you, the consumer. At any Davos gathering, over and over again, you're going to hear the speakers talk about creating business conditions that in effect control the choices of consumers in order to, quote, make this a better world. Take, for example, this person claiming that businesses are going to have to, in her words, recalibrate the notion of free speech online.
We are finding ourselves in a place where we have increasing polarization everywhere, and everything feels binary when it doesn't need to be. So I think we're going to have to think about a recalibration of a whole range of human rights that are playing out online, from freedom of speech to the freedom to, to be free from online violence, or the right of data protection to the right to child dignity.
Everything feels polarized and binary when it doesn't need to be so. So notice we at Davos, we're going to have to recalibrate a whole range of human rights. I frankly don't even know what the hell that means. But may I be so bold, who the hell are you, lady, to recalibrate anyone's rights, let alone human rights? But this is what the WEF is all about. They're not about finding solutions to problems in their own spheres of influence. They're not about blaming governments or corporations for the problems in our world. No. They're about shifting responsibility for all of that over to you. You are the problem with all your polarizations. Another sociologist studying the Davos gathering made very similar observations in all the speeches that she heard. The speakers over and over again recited the same litany of statistics for how globalism has contributed to economic inequality and social inequities and environmental detriments and the like, and yet not a single speaker faulted themselves. No one took responsibility for having a role in the making of this broken globalized world, but instead, speaker after speaker all invited us to trust them as our savior as they propose to re-engineer the market so as to make sure that we, the consumers, make better decisions. They want to create market conditions that would, in effect, socially engineer consumers into making the, quote, right choices when it comes to the environment and social inequities. I mean, you're just a passive agent of consumption within the cog of corporate capitalism. And increasingly, as far as these panelists at Davos are concerned, your consumption, right, what you consume and how you consume it, is good and right only if it's been approved and engineered and predetermined by them. It's pretty sinister stuff. You would think that the legacy media would want to be, reporting on that. And that's exactly what these cultural anthropologists who studied the World Economic Forum for 8 years, mind you, that's what they thought too. Only when they presented their findings to the lamestream media, they reported that the members of the media who were at Davos wanted nothing to do with them. In fact, they heard several reports that the reporters could lose their jobs if they reported findings like that. These anthropologists quickly realized that the world media wasn't there at Davos to report on the proceedings. No, they were there to promote them, precisely because they are part of the globalist corporate world. They refused to print anything critical of the conference, and that's because the international media is an intrinsic part of Davos. They're not critical observers. They are participants in the proceedings, and therefore advocates rather than journalists. Take a look at who Avi Yemini of Rebel News found as one of the participants in the forum.
Rebecca, how are you doing from the New York Times? Can I ask you a quick question as Avi from Rebel News? How is the public meant to believe that the New York Times is here to actually ask the tough questions when you're here as an invited guest? How are people meant to rely on the mainstream media?
If you wouldn't mind, we're just having just if you could give us, thank you.
You don't want to explain to people why we should trust the mainstream media? No? Of course, no comment. There we go. So that's the point here is in Davos you have the mainstream media that are not here to report the truth. They are here as part of the event, invited guests with their white name tags.
Yeah. God bless Rebel News. Now, obviously, this should be very concerning for anyone who supports an independent media, right? Virtually every single major news outlet broadcasts live from Davos. But of course, this raises serious questions about what they are broadcasting. For example, some of these scholars a few years back noted the strange irony that the Huffington Post was there to report on the proceedings, all the while their editor-in-chief, Arianna Huffington, was holding a discussion about the role of journalism and pop culture in finding solutions to global crises. And of course, you know what the solutions are. It's learning how to better and more effectively dictate your choices. In other words, the media doesn't report on the forum's globalist narrative. The media is the forum's globalist narrative. The boundary line between reporter and participant has been thoroughly blurred. And as a result, the news media transforms into nothing more than cheap network marketing. I mean, take a look at what CNBC offered as one of its headlines this week. How Davos became a target for conspiracy theorists and anarchists. You see, again, that's not news, that's narrative. That's not reporting, that's advocating. By contrast, this is what seems to happen to you when you're actually going to Davos to critically report on the proceedings. This is Human Events editor Jack Posobiec getting detained by WEF police after arriving in Davos. And as I understand, he was never told why they were detaining him. He came as a reporter to actively report on events, and this is how you get treated by the dolts in Davos when you do that. Now, here's the good news. This elitist globalist vision of the world is crumbling right before their very eyes. And in their more honest moments, they all know it. The world is moving more and more away from globalism, and it's increasingly embracing tribalism, nationalism, and civilizationalism, which are together totally recalibrating the world away from these dolts in Davos. Oh, sure, they may cause some problems in the interim, but rest assured, the days of the WEF having any real influence in the world are indeed coming to an end. And that, my friends, is the real Great Reset. Now, before we go, you definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on Hillary Clinton getting exposed in court on the whole Russian collusion hoax, all as Nancy Pelosi gets excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church. You are not going to want to miss this, so make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.